Hey, everybody. This episode of Kuhlture Keepers here. We're so excited to start talking about some personality profiles today and maybe into the next one or the next one, depending on how long it takes us to do so. So, like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff is down in there, but let's get right into it. So, why is it important to understand these personality profiles? It's very important to know who you are first before you can start figuring out who others are and what they are. Because if you have empathy for how you are, what you're good at, what you're not so good at, what you're very poor at, and you can understand those, you can then have empathy for others that may not be like you. No one's like you, but if you're really good at something and you expect someone else to be that good at it, that the same as you are, it just doesn't work that way. So we got to understand ourselves first, and we'll go through that. So we're going to talk about me a little bit on what I am on these personality profiles. And the first one we're going to talk about is love languages. It should go pretty quick. So there's all sorts of love languages that are out there. Love language is for families, for work, all this stuff. Basically, they're all the same type of thing, but you can use them for your culture at your work, at your home, at your church, whatever it is. So what are they? There's 5 love languages, okay? There's acts of service up here. There is quality time. There is words of affirmation. There's physical touch. There's receiving gifts. So that's the 5. So what does that mean for anybody on what their acts of or what their love language is? You are a part of all of these love languages. So you're going to have your top one, your next one, all the way down to the bottom. This is you in a nutshell. So, for example, I am my number one love language is acts of service. What does that mean? I love to serve others, which means that doesn't necessarily mean I love people to serve me, because I really don't. It's kind of uncomfortable for me to serve or to be served, but I love to serve others. So when I want to do something for someone and they tell me no, because they don't, they may not want to get that service, it actually hurts my feelings that they tell me no, that I can't help them. So that's an acts of service type of person. So if you have acts of service people around you in your family, in your work or whatever, and they ask to do something and you tell them no, it's actually worse than saying yes, please do. And you both get a benefit from that. So there's acts of service people are a group of people that is such needed in our world, right? So acts of service. So I know I'm acts of service, so I can understand who's acts of service out there and what it feels like when they ask to help me and I tell them no. That hurts their feelings. So now I know who I am. I can say, oh, I would feel that way too. So we'll get on to the next one. The next one is quality time. What is quality time? Quality time means I want to spend time with whomever. The people I like to spend time with. I want to have quality time with them. I want to sit down with them next on the couch. I want to go fishing with them. I want to go hunting with them. I want to go camping with them. Whatever it may be, they choose quality time over other things. My quality time is down a little bit further on the list than my next one, but quality time is just that. People love that. So if their number one is quality time and their furthest one down is gifts, and you give them a nice gift for their birthday, they're going to like it, they're going to appreciate it, but they would probably rather go out to dinner with you. They would probably rather go to a movie with you and have some quality time with you if you're a cherished person in their life. So think about that when people have their love languages of what actually is best for them, because what's best for me isn't necessarily best for them. Physical touch is my number 2. So I love to hug people. I'm constantly putting my hand on someone's shoulder or shaking hands or touching their back, or I'm just a touchy-feely kind of guy. That's what I am. Ask my wife, she'll tell you. She is not a physical touch person, so we have that yin and yang thing going on. So she realizes she's not. I realize she's not. So I shouldn't be offended or upset if sometimes I want to hold her hand, she doesn't want to hold my hand. That's not on me. That's just, it's not her love language. So why should I be upset or feel any resentment towards that? So if you start seeing this theme coming in of I know who I am, I should understand who they are so that I can understand why they do what they do. And then it doesn't hurt so bad because it's not you. You having a thought about somebody else on how they should be is not necessarily reality. So you got to kind of work through these. So Physical touch is my number 2. The one on here is words of affirmation. I am 4th on my list is words of affirmation. So I'm acts of service, I'm physical touch, I'm quality time, then I'm words of affirmation, and then I'm gifts. So the words of affirmation are, hey, you're doing great today. Hey, you did a great job. I really don't need that. It doesn't fill my bucket as much as giving me a hug and saying thank you for what I did. That fills my bucket more than, hey, shout out to Mark. He did great on this thing. So I don't need that words of affirmation as much as I do a hug or my ability to go help serve somebody else. So that's on mine. My last one is receiving gifts. I am not a gift giver or a receiver. So when someone gives me a gift, it's really uncomfortable for me, and that probably goes back to my acts of service. I want to serve, and so when someone serves me with a gift or their care, of course I appreciate it. Of course I absolutely adore what they got me or whatever, and I don't discount that. I just know that that's the least on my love languages. So if you want to really get to my core and stuff, then let's go do something together. Let's go do a mission together. Let's go do something like that, because that's quality time, acts of service, and physical touch all at one. So that's going to fill my bucket. So once you know who you are, then you can start understanding why people act the way they do and how they do things like that, and so on and so forth. So with that being said, we're going to get on to the next one, which is the DISC profile. So when I come back in a few seconds, we're going to go on to the DISC profile. All right, we're back, and we're back to talk about the DISC profile. What is the DISC profile? Well, this was created a couple decades ago, and Tony Robbins uses it on his personality profiles. Many companies across the world do. Jay Niblick, I believe, was the brains behind this DISC profile, and it's pretty incredible. So when we talk about DISC, that's the DISC index. And what are they? When we talk about the DISC, we talk about a dominant personality, we talk about an influential personality, we talk about a compliant personality, and we talk about a steady personality. So when we go through these, again, we'll talk about who I am. I got to realize who you are as well. I use love languages on how I'm going to treat people. I use DISC profiles on how I'm going to communicate with them. So in our world, in the real estate world, or even in my personal life, if I know someone is a high dominant personality like me, I can be very direct. I can be very decisive. These people are doers. They're demanding. They don't want a lot of fluff. They just want to get her done. 3% of the population out there are the dominant is their top. And so it's very rare. But when you come across these people, they may seem arrogant or rude or whatever, because you want to tell them the entire story, and they don't need the entire story. They just want the answer right now. So don't take these people as being jerks sometimes, but you need to allow them to assert their dominance, and because that's what they are. But they also, if they know who they are and they know who you are, they can say, okay, I need to dial that back a bit, because this person, when they're talking to me, they're a very high, cautious, careful, and conscientious person. So that's the C on the DISC. And these people need to read the entire paragraph and then paraphrase the paragraph and then sit there and go over the paragraph, figure out what that paragraph meant, and tell you about the whole thing. It's like my wife going out. This is a Tony Robbins story. It's called the Meadow Report. And he says, my wife can go out on a walk, 5-minute walk. She'll go out on a 5-minute walk, and she'll come back and she'll take 45 minutes telling me about her 5-minute walk. How does that work? Well, she gives he calls it the Meadow Report. And so what this high compliance, conscientious, careful person is doing is reciting everything. Oh, the smell of the flowers and how pretty this was. And, oh man, I saw someone walking by with these 2 dogs, and these dogs were amazing. They were bouncing across, and they just tell you absolutely everything. And us high Ds are going, okay. But you got to understand it. That's who they are. So if you really care for this person, lean in and listen and pay attention. Turn that dominance down, shut it off even, and just pay attention. That's all they need, is for you to pay attention to them. So my dominant side of me, I go out on a walk and I come back and give her my Meadow Report, the men's Meadow Report, and mine is I went for a walk. That's it. So that's that high dominant personality versus a higher compliant, C, conscientious, careful type, calculating type of a person. So when we go through, the next one is the I. So I'm a high D and I'm also a high I, which means I'm high influence. So I'm a galvanizing type personality. So I can talk people into things without even realizing it. It just comes natural to me to inspire people and be interactive with them and try to be interesting. And I'm very impulsive, and I'm very irritating to a lot of people. So that is the I's. You know, the I's goes about inspirational, interactive, interesting, impulsive, irritating. That's those I's. They want to be the center of attention. The older I get, the less center of attention I really want to be, because I want others to have that center of attention. But that does change over time. So these high I's are the people that will talk to anybody. They'll shake any hands. They're the salespeople out there. They're about 20% of the population or so, 15-20% of the population or so. And I'd get the right numbers because I probably didn't say that right. But regardless, they're not only 3%. And I know there's 70% that are 69 that are the S's, the steady people. These people are the stable, supportive, sincere. They're slow. They're sensitive. They love stability. So the high S's are your admin, your people who are serving others and doing things on your behalf and all the stuff behind the scenes, and they don't need that high I interaction with everybody out. They're okay closing their door and doing their work. They're very steady type of personalities. So I'm a 99D, a 99I. I'm a 53 on the S. So that S, that supportive nature that I have kind of goes along with my acts of service. So the support and the acts of service go kind of hand in hand, I believe. So the S's, and then the last one is the C. They're the compliant, they're cautious, careful, conscientious, calculating. They can be condescending because they know a lot. They're dotting the I's, crossing the T's. They get into the nitty gritty that the D's are like, oh my gosh, just get it done. And they got to get it done in every last little perfect way. And so why does this matter? So I'm 11 on my C. So I just kind of go just like this from my D down to my C. That's who I am in a nutshell. So if someone's talking to me and they know that my C is low and my D is very high, if they're really paying attention to it, they probably shouldn't give me the 45-minute medal report because I'm going to tune out. I'm going to start thinking of other things and stuff. And I likely already have the answer if you're asking me a question within 2 minutes of you talking to me. But you got to get through the 45 minutes. And I respect that as well. So if we can work that together, maybe you do it a 20-minute, drop it in half, and I get to eat 20 minutes and we collaborate together and get it done. And both of our buckets are fulfilled at that point. So the DISC is very, very important on how to talk to people. So a high dominant person, for example, dude, what are you doing? Like, you can't do it that way. You got to do it this way. Oh, roger that. Thank you. Appreciate it. No harm, no foul. I as a high D, I thank you for being direct. I get it. I'm not supposed to do that way. I do it somewhere else. If I did that to a high S, one of our admins in the office, like, what are you doing? Don't do it that way. Do it this way. They're going to say, yes, I'll do it that way. But what's going to happen when you close the door is likely the waterworks are going to come on and they're going to fret about it all night, all week, possibly all month, possibly all year. And you have no clue because you just dominated over them, spit all over them in their minds, and they had no clue. So that's why it's important that they know me and you also know them. Say, hey, I'm going to be a little dominant right now. I'm going to tell you, don't be upset. I'm not mad at you. I'm just going to tell you this is what we need to do. I don't have time to talk about it right now, but this is what we need to do. So if you preface that when you're talking to them, it is received so much better. Conversely, if they say, Mark, I really need your attention, turn your dominance off, turn your influence off, just listen to me. I need you to hear this. And that's wonderful because I'll turn all that off and I'll just listen intently. I'm a fixer. So if they try to send something to me, I'm instantly trying to fix it. And if I don't hear what they're saying because I'm trying to fix it, that's on me. That's not very nice for them to get this point across. So it's really good to communicate both ways. These high S's, they are the support, the steady, the stable, sincere, sensitive people. They're the sensitive types. And so we don't want to hurt their feelings, right? So we got to state if you're going to be dominant with them or not. The influential people, they're just the gregarious, like I said, all those funny people. And a lot of times you can say things direct to them and it won't bother them until later, and you won't realize it, and they won't even realize why they're upset 2 days from now because of something happened 2 days ago, because they're too busy being influential and doing their thing. So the last one, the going through the DISC on mine, the compliant one, the cautious one, I do things and get them done right away, and I'll drive through it, and if there's problems, I'll fix them along the way. Cautious people don't do that. So you can't ask a high C, I need you to get this extremely difficult, high task-oriented, high detail-oriented job done today. It's just not going to happen. There's too many ins and outs to do that. So your dominance has to be turned down for those things. So when you talk about love languages, you're talking about how I'm going to treat people and what fills their bucket and things like that. When you talk about the DISC profile, it's kind of how you can communicate with them. And all the years in the fire service, and I don't remember where it came from, whether it was Chief Al Brunacini down in Phoenix Fire Department or one of the leadership programs I went in, but I'd taken the communication keys, and it might have been leadership in Emmitsburg, Maryland. I don't remember where it came from. It doesn't matter. But I took this document about communication, and it says it's just 4 things, and it's message sent, message received, message repeated, and message confirmed. That's when communication is completely done and there's no question. So as a firefighter, every year, for the 20 years I was in the fire service, every year there was at least 99 to 100 firefighters that died every single year. When you read the NIOSH reports, I was a training officer, so I'd read these NIOSH reports to try to protect my people from these same mistakes or what happened. Almost all of them, the number one reason they died was communication. Why? Well, for example, you go to a structure fire and the officer sits on the passenger front of the truck, and the driver's the driver, obviously, and you got engineers in the back, and you got whoever else back there. And the officer's giving the orders for people to do their jobs before they even get there, and then when they get on scene, they'll tell their jobs. And if an officer that's already on scene has a truck coming in and say, hey, engine 751, I need you to take the 2.5-inch hose line to the second floor on the Delta side of the building, and they call back and they say, Roger, LT, I got you. Communication has not been had. What did they hear? Because our brains do hear different things when we got a lot of stuff going on. Did they actually hear that they're supposed to take that 2.5 to the Delta side second floor? Or are they going to take the 1.5 to the Delta side third floor? I don't know. So they have to repeat it back. Roger, LT, 2.5, second floor, Delta side, confirmed. And they go. And if that happened every time, which is very difficult to do, then these deaths would come way down. Communication devices would go down. That's a communication thing. So our radios would go down. Our pass devices, the devices that make a lot of noise when we stop moving or stop moving rather, they're motion censored. If they stop moving, they go off and tell people we're out. If they're not working, that's a communication issue. It's not communicating with things. And so all of these things, communication is such a big deal. And so when you take those 4 pieces of communication or rather 4 pieces of message and bind them together, you now have communication. So if you tell your admin, hey, with your dominant voice or your dominant personality, I say, not necessarily voice, hey, Miss Admin, I need you to get all those TPS reports done by noon. Okay, and you walk away. And she's in the middle of doing something because you just whipped through and you weren't paying attention because you're high dominant and you're not really paying attention to details. And then she looks up and she's like, something I got to do by noon. Let's get the GMS reports done. And she gets all of the GMS reports done and she hands them to him. And he's like, what are you doing? I said TPS reports. Oh my gosh, now we're behind. Communication never happened because he didn't wait for her to say, did you say TPS or GMS? And so it's just really important so that there's no ill feelings toward her because it wasn't her fault. It's your fault and her fault for not confirming. So if you go through the communication process, your culture will grow, your communication will grow, the respect will grow, your understanding of their personalities will grow, all those types of things. So I can't say enough on how important these are. These are two of many. We do many more, and we're going to talk about those in the next episode. We're going to talk about Working Genius. That's one of them, which is just an amazing thing by Patrick Lencioni. It's really new, like in the last 3, 4, 5 years. This has came out and it has really, really helped our business out. There's the Enneagram, there's the Myers-Briggs, all these types. One by themselves, I think, is kind of garbage. No offense to any of those people that develop those, because they're amazing and they're extremely accurate. But one by themselves doesn't understand who you are as a person, right? I think if you put them all together and you understand what their love language and their D.I.S.C and their Working Genius and their Enneagram and their Myers-Briggs, and you get all of that, your strengths finders, all those things, and you put them all together, you now have this well-rounded person. And with that, you're also going to find out that person that you're so frustrated with at work is going to have a lot more in common with you in some of these other deals. Let's get those common grounds going together so that we can work on these rough edges that we may have so that we can fix the culture no matter where you're at. So again, I hope you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share it with people. We're going to keep doing this podcast, this YouTube thing, whatever the heck this thing is. Camera girl back there knows what it is. I don't know what it is. I don't do that stuff. So that's her job to do, and she loves doing it. But I just want to get this out to people, anyone that can use this and find it helpful in their relationships with their children, with their marriage, with their family, their coworkers, their adversaries, their competition. Doesn't matter what it is. The more of this you can educate yourself with, the better off you're going to do in life. So appreciate you. Keep watching.